Wisconsin's most infamous axe murder and the child who predicted it. In the summer of 1974, in a small Wisconsin town surrounded by dairy farms and quiet lakes, a family of 4 was brutally murdered in their home. The weapon was an axe. The scene was so horrific that first responders required counseling for years afterward. The case shocked the state and made national headlines. But the murder itself is not the strangest part of this story. The strangest part is that a 6-year-old girl living 2 miles away described the crime in vivid detail 3 days before it happened. She told her parents. She drew pictures. She named the victims. And when her parents dismissed it as a bad dream, she said something that still haunts the investigators who worked the case. She said, "The bad man isn't done." She was right. This is the story of the Millbrook Axe murders. A case that remains unsolved after nearly 50 years. A case that has divided those who believe in coincidence from those who believe something darker was at play. And a case that proves that sometimes the most terrifying warnings come from the mouths of children. The town of Millbrook, Wisconsin is not on most maps. It is the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, where doors are left unlocked, where the most exciting event of the week is the Friday night fish fry at the VFW Hall. In 1974, it was even quieter. Families had lived there for generations. Crime was something that happened in cities, not here. The Keller family lived in a white farmhouse on the edge of town. Thomas Keller was a high school math teacher. His wife, Margaret, was a nurse. They had 2 children, Daniel, age 12, and Emily, age 8. They were a beloved family, active in the church, friendly to their neighbors, the kind of people who would give you the shirt off their backs. On the night of July 28, 1974, someone entered the Keller home through an unlocked back door. They walked through the kitchen, past the family photos on the wall, past the children's artwork pinned to the refrigerator. They picked up an axe from the woodpile outside. And they systematically killed every person in the house. The bodies were discovered the next morning by a neighbor who noticed the milk bottles still sitting on the porch. The scene inside was so gruesome that the sheriff, a hardened veteran of the Korean War, vomited in the front yard. The axe was found at the scene. No fingerprints, no footprints, no sign of forced entry, nothing stolen, no motive. The town was in shock. People locked their doors for the first time in their lives. Parents kept their children inside. The sheriff's department, overwhelmed, called in the state police and eventually the FBI. And then, 3 days into the investigation, a couple named Harold and Diane Porter walked into the sheriff's office with their 6-year-old daughter, Lily. They were visibly distraught. They said they had something to show him, something they could not explain. They placed a stack of papers on the sheriff's desk. Drawings, crayon drawings made by Lily. The first drawing showed a white house with a red door. The Keller house had a red door. The second drawing showed 4 stick figures lying on the floor. Red crayon covered their bodies. The third drawing showed a man with no face holding a long, dark shape. An axe. The drawings were dated July 25, 3 days before the murders. The sheriff asked Lily when she had drawn these. She said she drew them after her dream. He asked what dream. She said the dream where she saw the bad man hurt the family in the White House. She said she woke up crying. She told her mommy that the family needed help. Her mother had thought it was just a nightmare. She threw the drawings in the trash. Lily fished them out and hid them under her bed. When the news of the Keller murders broke, Lily saw the house on television. She recognized it instantly. She brought the drawings to her parents and said, "That's the house. That's the family. The bad man did it." The sheriff was skeptical. He was a rational man. He did not believe in psychics or visions or prophetic dreams. But the drawings were dated. The details were correct. And Lily had never met the Keller family. She had never been to that part of town. There was no earthly way she could have known. He asked Lily if she could describe the bad man. She said he was tall. He wore dark clothes. He did not have a face, just a shadow where his face should be. He moved slowly. And he was angry. Very angry. But she did not know why. The sheriff asked if she knew where the bad man was now. Lily's expression changed. She looked at her parents. She looked at the sheriff. And she said, "He's still here. He's going to do it again." He told me. The sheriff felt a chill run down his spine. He asked who the bad man told. Lily said, "He came back to my dream last night. He said there is another house, another family. He said I can't stop him." The sheriff increased patrols. He warned the community to stay vigilant, but 3 weeks later, on August 19, another family was attacked. The Henderson family, who lived on the opposite side of town. Same weapon, same method, same lack of evidence. The town descended into panic. The FBI profilers were baffled. There was no connection between the two families, no common acquaintances, no shared history, nothing that could explain why they were targeted. And then Lily drew another picture. This time, it showed a house with a blue door, and 4 more stick figures, and a date written in shaky 6-year-old handwriting. August 31. The sheriff's department staked out every house with a blue door in the county. On the night of August 31, they arrested a man attempting to break into a home on the outskirts of town. He was carrying an axe. He was wearing dark clothes. He had no identification. When they took him into custody, he did not speak. He did not resist. He simply stared at the officers with an expression of absolute emptiness. The man was identified as a drifter who had been passing through the area. He had a history of mental illness. He had been institutionalized several times. He never confessed to the murders. He never explained his motives. He was convicted on the basis of forensic evidence found at the Henderson scene and sentenced to life in prison. But the case was never truly closed, because the drifter, whose name was Leonard Sykes, did not match Lily's description in one crucial way. He had a face. A very ordinary, unremarkable face, and Lily insisted, until she was a teenager, that the bad man in her dreams had no face at all, just a shadow. She also said that the bad man was not alone, that there was someone else in her dreams. A woman. A woman in a blue dress who stood in the corner and watched. She never spoke. She never moved. She just watched. When investigators showed Lily a photo of Leonard Sykes, she said, "That's not him. That's not the bad man." So who was the bad man? Was there a second killer who was never caught? Was the drifter just a copycat, inspired by the crimes, or was Lily seeing something that existed beyond the physical world? Something that could enter dreams and influence the minds of the vulnerable. Lily Porter is now in her 50s. She still lives in Wisconsin. She has never given a formal interview about the case. Friends say she does not like to talk about her childhood. They say she still has nightmares. They say she still draws pictures that she refuses to show anyone. And they say that on certain nights, she locks her doors and closes her curtains and refuses to answer the phone. Because she knows that the bad man is still out there. The one with no face. The one who told her she couldn't stop him. He is still watching, still waiting, still visiting children in their dreams. If you have a child who wakes up screaming, who draws pictures of houses they have never seen, who speaks of a bad man with no face, listen to them. Believe them. Because the bad man might be more than a dream. And he might be closer than you think. Sleep well.